Day on the way. Sunny 75, 39 currently. And in studio is George Phillips, Republican candidate for the New York 22nd congressional seat, which is being exited by Congressman Richard Hanna. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, starting right off, we did speak with Wells and Tenney yesterday. From Assemblywoman Tenney, she's saying that that your petitions are being contested, and that there's an issue. It's in court, and she believes there's a chance that you might not be on the ballot. What do you say to that?
Well, that case was dismissed yesterday by the court, and it actually
it was dismissed yesterday.
It centers around a claim that she brought up that was really unfortunate, and it was really in my opinion, an attack and something unfair to people with disabilities and health issues who want to participate in the political process. What she brought me to court on was the fact that elderly people, sick people, sign petitions under a power of attorney, and they had every right to do that, to participate. The people suffered a great deal. She had lawyers at their houses questioning them. She produced an affidavit for the court that didn't mention they signed under power of attorney. And when we got to the judge and we said, look, this was under power of attorney, he said, why is the case, in closed meetings, he said, well, why is the case even here?
Yeah.
That wasn't put in the initial affidavit, but we're just really disturbed by how she treated those elderly sick people who are trying to participate in the process. They have every right to participate in the process. They were participating the only way they could. They couldn't physically sign themselves. We're really disturbed that they had lawyers meeting them, coming there, calling them to go to Albany to court, and they said to our team, look, we're scared. We don't know what to do. Lawyers are here pestering us. We're only trying to participate in the process, and we don't want to go to Albany. We're sick. We can't make the trip there. So we're just really disturbed about that.
Is, like I say, if that is true, it's a shame that these things even happen, that the people are brought into it, because it's hard enough to get people to participate in the first place. And what we don't want is people to say, listen, I'm not signing this because I don't want to be dragged into some. I don't want to. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And if all of that is true, but you're saying that the challenge brought against you has been cleared, thrown out of court. You are officially on the ballot with no other pending legal proceedings.
Correct. And it never should have been in court in the first place. And again, we're just disturbed, and I think the voters should be aware that Miss Tenney, Assemblywoman Tenney, dragged some of these sick elderly people into the process, and they have every right to participate.
Okay.
Who are we as a people to turn people away because they're sick and elderly, and they're participating any way that they could, certainly.
You also brought in a pamphlet here that was being circulated, we believe, by Claudia Tenney. It looks like it was. It has her stuff on there, her information. And you're taking issue with a couple of points on here that are targeting you.
Sure. I've done work for the Jack Kemp Foundation. I've talked about it on this show. There's two things in there. It says I work for an organization that promotes amnesty for illegal immigrants. That's completely false. It also says I work for an organization that promotes risky trade deals. That's completely false. The Kemp Foundation has no position on those issues. They do forums. They engage leaders on issues, but they have no policy platforms. And I did question Assemblywoman Tenney on this and asked her to stop circulating this. It's just patently false. I want to focus on the issues that I stand for in a debate, and if there's some issue I have taken a public stand for, then certainly let's debate that, but this is just false.
I do wonder. I mean, this is politics. I don't want to say it's just Claudia Tenney that does these things, but it's funny, and I do believe the people can see through this. I hope people see through these things. But when it comes to the Cuomo agenda, it says under Claudia Tenney opposes Cuomo's liberal agenda and budgets. Under Stephen Wells, donated $10,000 to Governor Cuomo. He says that's not true. It was his company. Again, it was his company. But under your name, there's a question mark. So it kind of leads it to believe that maybe you have been supporting his agenda. How do you answer to that? And then below, as opposed to under Ms. Tenney, she's 100% pro-Second Amendment, leading fight for SAFE Act repeal. Under Second Amendment, Stephen Wells claims to be pro-Second Amendment, but supports Cuomo's budget funding the SAFE Act. And under your name, claims to be pro-Second Amendment, that you claim to be. It's funny how those words are put in there. Comment on those.
Well, first, I completely oppose the Cuomo agenda. He's hurt upstate New York. He's caused more jobs to leave. He's there with his New York City friends and fundraisers and focused on them and focused on a liberal agenda, I believe, to run for president. He keeps doing things that are killing jobs. He wouldn't allow safe natural gas drilling. Raising the minimum wage here is going to actually hurt poor people and cost us jobs. So time and time again, Cuomo's hurt us. He wasted millions of dollars on this Startup New York program. Our plan talks about relief for existing businesses, those who have stayed here during difficult times, tax and regulatory relief that the state would have to match. So, one, totally opposed to Cuomo. Two,
Second Amendment.
Totally supportive of our Second Amendment rights. And I'm an American history teacher who teaches the Constitution. Cuomo is engaged in an assault on the Constitution through the so-called SAFE Act. And then on the federal level, everything we see, the anti-gun legislation, is all designed to put more pressure and take rights away from law-abiding citizens. The criminals who will commit murder, they're going to get their weapons anyway, and they're going to kill people with guns or through other means.
Yeah, okay.
We need to stand up for law-abiding citizens here, and I've had an A rating with the NRA in the past.
All right, Manaski, question.
Current Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney is actually texting into the program right now. This is two separate issues here. One is on the signatures. She says he committed fraud. He had people sign who were not present. Would you respond to that?
The court dismissed the case yesterday, and I'm on the ballot, and these were elderly sick people who signed under power of attorney. They had every right to do so. I defend the rights of the sick and the elderly. They shouldn't have been harassed by Claudia Tenney and her attorneys. This is really disturbing.
One more thing. She says Kemp, I'm assuming Kemp Foundation, Kemp promotes amnesty. She says he also supports trade deals. Will you respond on those two issues?
Jack Kemp passed away 7 years ago. And I would say if she wants to associate me with everything that Kemp stood for, she worked for an assemblyman, Townsend, I believe. He was heavily supportive of abortion rights and taxpayer funding for abortion. Does that mean Assemblywoman Tenney shares those positions?
So on amnesty, you do not support amnesty?
I do not support amnesty for illegal immigrants, and I do not support risky trade deals.
I want to ask you, you have put out a mailer, and this got a lot of play, especially in the political arena. A lot of people within, that have something to do with politics were talking about this, whether it's in the media or political people. And that was that you said it's time that the Binghamton area gets their representation, having someone represent the 22nd from Binghamton. And it was sent out all across the district, which a lot of people took offense to it when it was sent up here. What happened there, and what are your thoughts on that? And was that a mistake, do you believe?
It certainly was. It was back in January. Our fundraising team sent something out, and I do believe a few people up here might have received it. But
some people did, yeah.
This is nothing new. When we're in Utica, Assemblywoman Tenney talks about, we need to represent Utica. We need to have Utica elected. When we're in Madison County at the county convention with Steve Wells, his supporters were saying, we need someone from Madison. I mean, the fact of the matter is we have 8 counties. I know there may be some parochial interest that, we want someone from our area, but we need the best person to represent all 8 counties. And my desire, if I'm fortunate enough to serve, would be to make the Mohawk Valley a second home here, to be engaged, to be supporting the projects that are going on already. We're going to be in Rome for a chamber debate, and I do think the Griffiths Technology Park up there is just amazing, and we need a representative who will continue to support that. We have the Nano Labs here in Marcy, so I'm very attuned to the issues up here, and I want to represent all 719,000 people that are in the district to the best of my ability.
I do want to ask you, as long as we're talking about Assemblywoman Tenney, and we've talked about her, so her critics claim that she votes against things, and believe me, she defends herself saying, I can't vote for this bill because there's too much liberalism or whatever. There are tax increases over here, even though stacked into this bill is funding for nanotech. And this is hypothetical, but it's really what ultimately ended up happening. How would you vote in those situations if there's a chance for money to be coming to your area, but it also has some things you're forced to maybe plug your nose and vote yes on? How would you vote? Would you vote no? Do you vote yes? And you know what I'm talking about. These are the votes that Assemblywoman Tenney has been forced to make.
Well, and all public officials will have votes like that, but I think, one, you look at your conscience, 2, you look at your constituents, and overall, what I'm very upset about the leaders in Washington and the Republican Party is we're not compromising on much of anything. Where's our healthcare plan? How come we're not leading with a clear plan and saying, here's a dynamic market of choice? I think the American people would be more sympathetic if we at least were compromising from something. We're not leading on ideas. So that's where I'm very wary. We're getting handed it to us time and time again by President Obama. Where's our plan to cut spending here? And then, we've taken this deal, this bad debt deal. Wait a second, where were we leading? If we led and said, look, this is our plan to reduce wasteful spending. I've talked about a Ronald Reagan Grace Commission 2.0, having business leaders come in like Ronald Reagan did and scour for waste. Why don't we have that in part of our negotiations? So, you're asking a hypothetical about certain budget votes that I wasn't privy to, but I know I'll have those tough votes, and I could just tell the listeners, conscience, constituents, and then trying to highlight positions that put us in position to, if there is a compromise, that we're compromising from something, not nothing. Our leaders have let us down.
There's a lot of forced compromise going on. It's like, hey, you want this for your area, you got to vote for this over here. And those are tough decisions that you guys have to make, I guess. All right, finally, we have one person always asks to ask every candidate we get on, do you support Donald Trump? Will you support the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm focused on our race till June 28th. I'm planning on supporting the nominee. The convention is this summer. I know he's the presumptive nominee, but what I'm more in tune to right now is the sentiment that's led him to this position. I know he's been a candidate who's led on certain issues. He's burned bridges, certainly, but people are so upset. They're so fed up with the mess in Washington. They've had enough, and I'm very attuned to that sentiment, that people are just upset. They're fed up, so I want to try to connect with all those voters who feel like they've lost a voice.
And somebody else is asking, who specifically filed the petition against you in court, which was contesting your signatures in those petitions?
There was two people in the lawsuit. Claudia Tenney was one of them, and then another woman up here. Her name escapes me. I think it was.
Was it? I was told, was it a Linda?
Yes, Linda
Fatata.
Oh, okay. Well, that's surprising.
But it's just unfortunate. The case never should have been in the court. The victims, the seniors, never should have suffered like they did, and that's what I'm most disturbed about. Take the shots at me. You mentioned these mailers that go out, things that are they're not false. Okay, we're in politics.
Yep.
Yeah, I could take
happens.
it. I want to set the record straight here, but I'm just deeply disturbed by these seniors who wanted to participate. And I defend their rights. And if you look at when the case was dismissed, the judge in his ruling talked about the fact that George Phillips was standing up for the rights of the sick and the elderly and the disabled who wanted to participate in this process.
All right, George Phillips. Interesting. The last poll that was a Claudia Tenney poll that had you in second place here. Mm-hmm. Much of that support, I would assume, comes from the Binghamton area, but being up here certainly will help your cause, I'm assuming.
Sure. The one poll that matters is the June 28th one, right?
Yeah.
The one on
that is the biggie.
Day, so,
that's the big one. So, all right, George Phillips, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck at the forum today. That'll be going on at the beaches. What time does it start? Shortly.
8 o'clock. You better get going.
You got to fly.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're close, though.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And we look forward to debate here. We're going to have a debate on this show soon,
on the
right?
debate issue.
Yeah.
Andrew, where do we stand on the debate? We did speak with the Assemblywoman on it yesterday, and I think we have a date.
We have tentatively 2 dates.
Okay.
Possibly June 13th or 17th.
All right. Can
So
you do either one of
Monday or
those
Friday.
dates?
We could do both.
You could do both days.
Let's have 2. Let's do it.
We have, so it looks like we have all 3 parties ready to go on a debate. So there you go. I know you were calling very early. Even
Thank
before
you.
Wells, you were calling for a debate.
I don't want to say it was my idea because this is your show, but I did bring it up.
Okay, you did.
You
Although I took
jumped
credit
on.
for it yesterday, just so you
That's
know.
all right. We'll give you the credit as long
Okay,
as we have a
thanks.
chance to debate here.
All right, George. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it. Quick break at WIBX.